What's Up Yuma with Johnny Porter is sponsored by Yuma and Imperial Valley Wealth Management, offering solutions for those who value financial planning. YIVWM.com.
Chili from Philly. Unique Papa Giorgio from Yuma.
What's up, Yuma? Welcome to another episode of What's Up Yuma Radio. I'm Johnny.
And I'm Ronnie.
And on today's program, I just found out she does not like to be called Jennifer. So
that's her legal name.
Yeah, she puts it up there for legal reasons. But no, we are here with Jenni Kempton from Yuma Counseling Services, again, from right here in Yuma, Arizona. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
This was a perfect time. We mentioned it's OCD Awareness Week, and that's something that you tackle in your practice, right?
I do. Yes, I am the expert in the town.
Okay.
By default, I experience OCD and I was diagnosed in May of 2023, and I did an intensive outpatient program myself just at the end of my schooling. And by default, trial by fire, I learned how to help people, and now I'm doing training in it.
So for people that don't know or understand, what is OCD exactly, and what are some of the things that somebody would suffer from if they have it?
Yeah. So OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder, and people would experience some type of obsession. It would be an intrusive thought. It would be maybe an image that comes to mind, and it's something that they're highly distressed about. It's not something that they want to be experiencing. And they might have, what if this might happen? Maybe this might happen. It's often misdiagnosed as anxiety because anxiety is part of the cycle. When the person starts experiencing that, they realize it's not a part of them. It's called dystonic, not a part of their value system. And they think, oh my gosh, why am I experiencing this? Their brain holds on to it. They experience anxiety, and then they do a compulsion, a thing, a ritual, something to make it stop, either mentally or physically. Okay.
So, and the compulsion, when I've, I guess, been aware of it, or when it's kind of played out in media, it's like, okay, somebody may be washing their hands a lot, or somebody that has to touch every door that they go through.
Flick a light switch 30 times.
Is that really part of it, or is that the sensational part of it? Is that, go ahead, and I'll let you answer that question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Hollywood portrays some different themes like contamination OCD, maybe just right, symmetrical type of OCD, but the ones that aren't often seen, and often there's a lot of shame around them, there can be different themes, and people can rotate through life having different types of themes, and sometimes they're trauma-based, so there can be ones that people don't like talking about are harm OCD. They're afraid they're going to hurt somebody, maybe on accident or on purpose. There's pedophilia OCD, afraid of being a pedophile. They're not. And OCD attacks the things we love the most. So it would be if we care about our family, if we're a school teacher and they hear, I heard about somebody doing this, and then their OCD will latch onto it. What if you're like that? And it's the total opposite of what that person is. And so that's why there's so much distress. So they do the compulsion, which is, and maybe it's avoidance too, that can be in place of the compulsion. And so they can, okay, I'm not going to be around children. And OCD says, oh, look, we made that better, and let's do more. And so
oh, wow.
It'll isolate further.
Yeah, let's isolate further. There's isolation is a huge part. Oh, those people don't like you. Okay, let's stay away from them, or let's try to people please. And so it can use anything, can be a compulsion, and there can be thousands of types of themes that people may not have heard about. Emotional contamination, afraid we're going to catch other people's emotions. So many different things that people haven't heard about.
And there'll be many more, I'm sure, in the future. I remember watching this show about obsessions, and this lady was so scared every time she saw a pedestrian that she would hit them, that she'd drive right by them, but she'd have to circle around the block like 50 times just to make sure she didn't hit them. But she didn't hit them, but her brain was telling her, you might have. So stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. That's like the harm OCD of fear
Yeah.
that they're going to hit somebody. And so then the OCD says we get a little bit of relief when the compulsion happens. See, well, that made it better. So let's do it again and more and more.
And then you can't
we
get
go
out.
back up to the
Wow.
obsession, back through the anxiety. So it just
It's
tightens.
a cycle.
So there has to be a certain type of treatment for this. And so often people are not diagnosed for 14 or given the right kind of care for 14 to 17 years on average. Mine was almost 30 years. And so it was pretty intense. And I went through different types of themes based on some on trauma, some just my OCD just kind of picked up on it.
So we like to dive into the history a little bit on all of our guests. How did you end up here in Yuma? Are you from here? Or?
No, I'm not. My husband is from Arizona originally, and I wanted to find a job here. We applied all over the nation after he finished school, and now he works at AWC as a professor.
Oh, what
does he teach?
He teaches biology mostly, nursing biology classes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So he applied here and got the job here.
Yep.
So you guys came to Yuma.
Yeah,
Where are
came
you
to
originally
Yuma.
from?
I'm from Kentucky. I grew up in Kentucky.
Kentucky.
So, yeah, like we're military, but ended up in Kentucky by the time I was 5. And then stayed there till I was 18 and came out to school for ASU and then met Colton.
Party school.
After a little while. And then, we ended up here after we finished our schooling.
So what did you originally go to school for? I think in your bio, a little bit of a child development. Was that part of it?
Yeah, child development is what I went into after searching a little bit in school and finding out I wanted to help educate people about children just developmentally appropriately, teaching about just different things, how the body works. And I think there's a lot of shame around like sexuality and teaching that with children. And then kids experience shame and then they don't get the help that they need if they get into different addictions. And so that became kind of my passion, is teaching not just with addictions, but some people just have shame about having sexual relationships with their partners and different things like that. And just children learning generally so that they don't have shame around their bodies and things that are natural and things like that. So I started there, and then I wanted to be a college professor, and then trauma led me into being a social worker like 10 years later.
Yeah. So you went for that. And then let's get into that, how you ended up in the field, because a previous guest of ours, a good friend of mine, Troy, how did you get introduced to him and go to, I think you said you went to one of his retreats and then something happened.
Yes, I went to several of his retreats.
No, okay.
Yeah. And I started out in September of 2019. I had some traumatic incidents that happened. I was trying to manage what I didn't know was my OCD and different types of trauma reactions. And then I went to the retreat and realized this is what I need to get better. This is what I need for healing. And so I remember when I came home from the retreat, just sitting on the floor and pulling out all the information from the Finding Peace material and thought, this looks like a lot, but I'm going to pull it apart. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to reach out to friends. I'm going to do what they taught us at the retreat. And I'm going to heal. This is what I need to do. It was kind of, I was at the bottom at that point and I didn't know what else to do. And that felt right for me.
So you said OCD is often misdiagnosed.
Yes.
What is it misdiagnosed as?
Usually anxiety, but there can be different things, and there can be what's called comorbid conditions. So people might be experiencing different things. Like anxiety was something I was experiencing. So if somebody did a screening for me, then they would be like, oh, yep, that's anxiety because the levels were so high. It might be PTSD, trauma, and my trauma and OCD are so tight that my OCD and trauma therapist is even not sure how to
tackle it.
Unwind them, which one's which. And so we have to work together to say, okay, that's OCD. Okay, that's your trauma. And so those can be some things, but there can be BDD, body dysmorphic disorder. There can be different eating disorders, trichotillomania, which is hair pulling. So there's lots of things, autism. lots of things. Autism can present like OCD. People might think, oh, that's autism. They're very rigid, but it's actually OCD. And they're like, no, I don't want to be doing these things. And this isn't who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of different diagnoses.
And you mentioned trauma because Troy's retreats kind of focus in on that. So trauma was your first kind of gateway into these things.
Yeah.
You said, I recognize some things about myself. There's a workbook that comes with the retreat. You started to dive into that and you started to figure out how to heal yourself. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I ended up starting a book group with some of my friends who also experienced trauma at that time. And we just went to their house and we spent 9 months, like every week, just diving into it for a couple hours and sharing our deep stories and healing together. And we learned what that healing salve is to help with that trauma or emotional wounds. And that was really healing for me. And then I ended up feeling like I wanted to do more of these groups. And so I just started volunteering and doing a lot of these different groups, going to every retreat Troy had.
So you went to the first one and it's like, okay, it spoke to you, it resonated, you're finding healing. You started the group and then it's like, I want to be a part of other people's healing journeys.
I did. Yeah. I thought I want to help other people be a part, have this healing that I've experienced. I felt kind of a call to do that and to help other people, but I knew that I needed more healing myself. And so it's like every time I went through the book, it's like the layers, kind of like an onion would peel down. And at that point, my brain was ready to work through this trauma with rejection, loss, whatever it was, betrayal, abandonment, neglect, different things like that.
So what are some of the things inside of the Finding Peace philosophy that really helped you?
Some things that really helped me, what comes to mind first, or what we call the shadows of shame. It's what family and or society teach us, and we set that outside of ourselves because we know that those aren't us, and then kind of create like an archetype, just kind of, if it was outside of yourself, what would it be saying? And so being able to externalize that and realize that that's not me.
It's like a different voice. It's not you. It's something else saying these things that it could be, well, typically a lie about you.
Right. Yeah. And people are like, oh, is that like schizophrenia? I'm like, no, this is not the same. We're not hearing voices. It's just kind of like messages that we've heard.
Like, whatever. I'm not
Negative
good enough.
thoughts,
Right.
exactly.
Like I can't go do this. Like, who am I to think that I could go do this? Stuff like that. Like everybody, everybody experiences that, right?
Totally.
That's not schizophrenia or else we're all schizophrenic.
It's because sometimes clients will be like, what do you mean? Or they're like, no, I don't hear voices. So I like to clarify that, but it's like, no, we're just putting it outside what we've heard from messages from family or society, and what would it be saying? And I am not enough is the biggest one that I hear from people. When I bring it up, they're like, oh yeah, and they even have shame about experiencing that. And I'm like, I think everybody kind of has experienced those kinds of things.
And Troy names them, so it helps you kind of find out or dive into it, like the judge, right? And there's a few other ones.
Yeah, the judge, which judges us, the royal, which judges other people, which can be sneaky, and just it's a defense mechanism kind of thing. There's the martyr, just being the doormat for everybody else. The rebel, just don't care about other people or myself. And the impotent one, like I can't, it's always going to be this way, it'll never get better kind of stuff. And the I'm trying to think of, I think there's two more, but I'm kind of nervous.
Man, that's okay.
That's a lot to digest right there.
But so it helps you, like you said, to build that archetype, build that outside of you, and you're recognizing, okay, that's not me. That creating that separation really helps. When people start to do that, and it's like, oh, well, you feel some relief,
Yeah. I think it really, when people are able, I'll say, what are those shadows of shame saying? And it takes a while to learn them, but I'm like, just put it outside. And what is it saying? And then they're actually able to address it. And it's saying this. And then we can say, okay, well, thanks for trying to help me, but I don't need that kind of help. You can go.
Right.
And then
you kind of take your authority back.
Yeah. It's very empowering and saying, okay, person I am authentically, what is that truth, and being able to tap it into that truth and light, and then also reaching out to others for connection. That's that healing style that I'm talking about, acceptance, and with loss, being able to have people present, and being able to have people we can trust, and with abuse, just having people who respect boundaries and different things like that. So that's that healing style of having acceptance, and not just acceptance, but having presence of other people and attention from other people, which people experience shame. Oh, I don't want to ask people for needs with that, but that's how we are able to heal.
This is a lot of like real deep work.
Yeah.
Do you know like the average time it takes for someone to maybe actually accept this, have a breakthrough, change a little bit?
It all varies because we're all different in our background experiences. It depends if somebody's doing a retreat. I think people can really jump in and do that work over that weekend. And that really helped me learn about, it was 30 hours. So it's 6 months of work, all in one, package.
Fast track.
Yeah. I've seen people who started working with me, and I would work with them every week, and it takes, I don't know, 6 months probably to really get the information in, but I'd say at least a month or a month and a half before they start getting the basics of it.
It's a basic, starting to connect some dots, and
especially if they're reading the book really into it.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the OCD side and a certain treatment. And I think I'm going to get EDMR. Is that EMDR? Okay. I'm also dyslexic, so we just found that out right now on the show. No, I'm just kidding.
He diagnosed himself.
I was close, Talon. I was close. All right. But we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk more about that as soon as we get back. You're listening to What's Up Yuma Radio right here on 94.7 KOFA Border Radio.
What's Up Yuma is sponsored by Yuma and Imperial Valley Wealth Management, offering listeners a one-on-one, no-obligation consultation to review their current financial affairs and provide strategies for meeting future goals. More at yivwm.com. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, and SEC registered investment advisor.
I'm Mike Suba, and I'm a big supporter of KAWC. You're getting a great source of information about our community, about the people that are working and living here, and you start going, you know what, this is really a valued service. And that's the great thing, is you've got a partnership here. And I'm a big believer in partnerships, because the one thing I realized early on in life, I can maybe do a lot of stuff on a very limited basis, but when I start partnering up, it's amazing what we can do when we pool our resources. And so I hope that when people are listening to the station, enjoying the news broadcasts and the entertainment shows that are being presented, that they realize that you're not only the end user and enjoying what's being broadcast to you, but it can be a partnership too, where you can participate, like I've discovered I can do, and help get this service, enhance it, and provide even better programming. I'm Mike Suba, and I support KAWC.
What's up, Yuma? Welcome back to What's Up Yuma Radio. We're here talking to Jenni Kempton, and before I left, I told everybody we're going to dive back into the OCD side and a treatment, and I got it in front of me this time, so I'm going to read it right. EMDR therapy, and that's something that you practice over at Yuma Counseling, right?
Yeah.
Can you let everybody know what this therapy is and kind of how it got started?
Yeah. So EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It was created by Francine Shapiro in, I believe, the 90s. And so she was walking her dogs one day and thinking about her sister who drowned or almost drowned, and she was really distressed. And she said that she noticed that she wasn't distressed anymore. So she thought, what's going on? Why am I not distressed? And she noticed she was looking back and forth. So she's like, oh, well, that's interesting. So she was a researcher. So she went and worked with people who are Vietnam vets, and they started doing a kind of a method where it's called bilateral stimulus. And so they kind of move their hands from left to right, and it's just getting that left and right side of the brain to start talking again, that intellectual and emotional side of the brain. And they also do tapping on the left and right side of the body, or they have headsets and they make noises. This is the newer technology we have, where put the headsets on and it'll make noises like dee, 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 or we have little buzzers and they, it'll buzz on each side. And so there's a maladaptive memory that kind of gets lodged. And then the person starts believing, like if somebody's been to war, like, oh my goodness, there's that piece of paper on the floor is a bomb.
Oh,
and so then they start linking things that they think are part of, they're in that situation again. And so it's getting the brain to start retraining it, the neural pathways, so that it can see, okay, that's not something that's harmful. And we also do it with things with what they call little t trauma, which I don't quite like that term because I don't want to downplay it at all.
Yeah.
And little t trauma is where people have experienced manipulation, maybe gaslighting, bullying, just anything that would create those negative core beliefs like I'm not enough. I've done it around, I experienced ADHD too, and I thought I was stupid going to school as a little kid. And so the different classes I was in and feeling like I wasn't smart. And so working on changing those negative core beliefs. And so we'll ask the person, what's the distressing event? What is your belief? Like I am smart. Like what's your positive core belief on a scale of 1 to 7? Oh, maybe it's a 6 right now. Or maybe it's a 3. And then what's your distress level? 0 to 10. Oh, like right now it's an 8. What's your emotion? And so we just go through that. And then through the EMDR, it's really interesting where the brain's picking up on, well, this happened, and this is why I'm not smart. And then all of a sudden we see this, what they call the wave, where the person's brain starts to say, but well, what about this? And what about this? And starts going towards the positive.
Wow.
We'll start to see it change. And then the numbers go up. And within like 30 minutes of doing it, it's amazing. We see something somebody's had from a little kid, like 5 years old, even if it was something that just happened recently, and it shifts even a couple points, like 20% in like a 30-minute session. And I mean, people have complex trauma, but so we can't say it's going to be this much time. Yeah. But it takes a couple sessions on one target thing and that we're working on. And we can lower that distress level significantly, where it was a 10, and then we're seeing it go down to, a 5 or, and then a 3 and 2. And it may not get all the way down with somebody who's been an abuse victim, because there might be a threat still out there. And then we help them kind of say, what can I control in my environment? Maybe doing martial arts or different things like that. So that's kind of what EMDR is.
So take us through, like if somebody came in and said, okay, I heard it on this very, very popular radio show that's worldwide.
Number one.
And they heard about it, and they come to your office and they said, I want this treatment. Take us through what happens when somebody comes in.
Yeah. So I'll use an incident from my life that I use with people often. So when I was 8 years old, I fell in an icy lake and almost drowned. And so that would be a big T trauma event. And so I would come into my therapist if I was the client, and I'd say, okay, this is the event. I'm having a hard time being around water with my kids, like lakes. I see them, I get terrified. I can't go swimming in there. And I just am hyper vigilant is what it's called. But I would just be like, I'm super anxious about this. And they're like, all right, so on a scale of 1 to what's your negative core belief around this? I'm not going to survive. That would probably be what we have, a list of different things to kind of help people with that and understand what negative core beliefs are. And so I said, I'm not going to survive. What's your distress level on a scale of 0 to 10? Oh, it's a 10 right now. I'm really anxious about this, really distressed. What would you like to believe instead? I'm going to survive. That's what I'd like to believe. How much do you believe that on a scale of 1 to 7? That's the positive cognition. I want to survive. How much do I believe on it right now? Well, like a 3 maybe. And so we kind of go with that highest number, they say. And then or maybe a 2. We might go with that with the positive cognition side. And then the emotion, we'll ask them, what are your emotions? Like, I'm anxious, I'm scared, I'm terrified right now. And then we'll ask them somatically, which means body. Where do you feel that in your body? Oh, my heart hurts, like my stomach, I feel tight. Okay. And then we'll say, what's the distressing image that goes with that? Oh, it's me and my brother falling into the lake. Okay, so we're going to go with that, and we teach them grounding tools before this, so that if they can stabilize when they're not with us, or when they hit a really high trigger point when we're going through it. And we see if there's any back memories with what we call float back memory. Is there anything that's associated with these emotions and things from the past? And so then we go into the EMDR. And so when we start phase 4, which is the bilateral stimulus with the light or the headsets or buzzers or both, it's whatever works for people. We'll see what works for them. And and so then we'll say, okay, that target memory, you're going to think of that and go with that. And then we do what's called 30 passes, just kind of back and forth for 30. And I have a little timer on the side so I can see the 30 passes and a remote. And so I'll stop it and I'll say, what's coming up for you? And I've explained to them, I want you to say just 1 to 2 words, 1 to 2 sentences tops, because we don't want to go into talk therapy. We're letting your brain process this. And so they'll say, if I was saying it, my brother falling in. And so it's either a visual, an emotional sensation, I'm scared, or my heart's tight, and emotion, like a somatic type feeling. I say, okay, go with that. And then 30 more passes. And then we just keep on going. So like I said, a lot of times that we'll get a lot of that evidence. Well, this other thing happened where my sibling almost died, which happened to me, and I had to save them. Then this other thing happened and my sister got lost. And so it's like finding all these evidence. So we have that original image and then the feeder memory, and then we might have some what they call prongs just coming off of that. So some other things that the brain found evidence that like world's not safe. And then we'll see that wave where people start to say positive things. And I say, just go with what's coming up. We're not going to force it. And we don't stay in this incident. Your brain's going anywhere. So it may not seem related, but just say what's coming up. And then when they start saying several positive things, then I check the level of, if their distress has gone down, if their positive cognition is going up. And so we monitor that through the process and kind of watch them to make sure that they're not too distressed. If we need to ground, we can stop. And then we come back and do that after each session. And in between sessions, we create what we call a container, and we put that in there and give it to, if they believe in universe, God, whoever, a good friend, that visual. And then we do a grounding, a safe place in their mind that helps them feel like I can step out of the office and go back to my regular life, even though it might be it's going to come up. We just say, just put it back in that box, lock it up, in that
like
visual.
That.
And so,
I like that.
and then you have your tools, you can go back to that safe place.
Wow, this is cool. Like, I need to schedule a session with you. I probably can't afford you, but we were talking about haunted houses yesterday and how scared I am of them. It's a experience from childhood. And I was like 4 going through it, and someone grabbed my leg and they wouldn't let go.
Oh, no.
And I was freaking out. My mom had to pull their hand off of me. So like ever since then I've hated them. But like I'm an adult now, so it's interesting to think how like that situation can still play in my like unwillingness to go to a haunted house, so it's just crazy when you think about stuff like that, and it is all linked. So we're going to have to get together.
Yeah.
I need some therapy.
I'm willing to help you. Yeah. I'm scared of them too. So I get you.
Okay. I'm not the only one.
Yeah. I know this is funny because I was with Troy yesterday, and yesterday I was like, hey, the haunted house is back. Do you want to go to it? And he's like, absolutely. Let's go. So me and Troy are going to go to the haunted house next week. But we got to wrap up, unfortunately, because I could hear you talk forever because this is absolutely fascinating. It's OCD Awareness Week. Anything you want to let people know about that? And then at the end, let them know how they can find out more information about your practice.
Yeah. So I forgot to say, we continue that EMDR until we get really low on it. So I want to let people know we continue in that process.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm at yumacounseling.com. That's where they can find out more information. Also Finding Peace Consulting. And those would be the best place to get those resources. And they can reach out to our office admin from the Finding Peace or from the Yuma Counseling website.
So what about if somebody thinks they might have OCD to go get diagnosed? How do they follow that process?
That would be, wow.
If you don't know, it's okay.
Well, I do, but I'm like, well, I'm the only person in town that I know knows how to go through that process.
Okay.
One of my, but I did do some training with my colleagues so that they know how to detect it. And so they would send them over to me. I'm trying to think of anybody else in town. You can also go to psychologytoday.com and then put in you experience OCD.
Gotcha.
And ICBT, inferred cognitive behavioral therapy, put those in, and exposure and response prevention is the gold standard that's been known for years to help people with that. And DBT helps with that also, and ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy is DBT.
Wow. I know we're going to break in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
How can friends and family support someone with OCD? Real quick. I think that's really important.
Yeah. I think if their loved one will go to invite them into therapy with them, then getting that education from the therapist is huge. You really need that support system. And also, they have a program called SPACE, and the International OCD Foundation website is the most amazing place ever to get resources. And they have support groups that are often free for the family, for those who experience it, for different subtypes, like different themes of OCD.
No, thank you so much for being with us. Yeah, we're running out of time, but gonna have to have you back on so we could dive a little bit deeper into this. You're listening to What's Up Yuma Radio right here on 94.7 KOFA Border Radio.
What's Up Yuma is sponsored by Sunrise Cleaning, serving the Yuma area's residential and commercial cleaning needs. Sunrise exclusively uses eco-friendly cleaning products and provides specialty services such as solar panel cleaning and pressure washing. More information and appointment booking at sunrisecleaningaz.com.
I'm Chris Wheeler, owner of Prison Hill Brewing Company. I support KAWC because I think KAWC brings a service to the community that you don't get on commercial radio. You have news, you have entertainment, you have things like Science Friday. It's a perspective that is not available on a commercial platform, and it's oriented towards the community, for the community, and from within the community. Prison Hill underwrites KAWC and community radio because of what it brings to Yuma. It is the local perspective told by residents and from the view of people in the community. I don't think you get that anywhere else. Supporting KAWC really does bring a service that is not available elsewhere. It's a worthy endeavor, and I think that will just feed back and make Yuma a better place. I'm Chris Wheeler, and I support KAWC.
Broadcasting from Yuma campus of Arizona Western College for more than 55 years, this is Border Radio, 94.7 FM, KOFA Yuma. We also broadcast at 1320 AM in Yuma, at kawc.org, and on the KOFA app.
The Yuma Rotary Club will present the 67th annual Walt Kamen Sausage Fry starting at 4:30 on December 5th at the Yuma Civic Center. The event, which will include music and prizes, supports local scholarships administered by Yuma Rotary. Event details and tickets are available at yumarotary.org.